next day we spent at sea, heading south and east toward the Falkland Islands. The temperature was still relatively mild, but the wind was definitely picking up and it was getting cooler. Some crew members are struggling to get the cover on the pool. Our ship arrives at Stanley Harbor in the Falklands early on December 9th. With little notice, we are told that one tender will be going ashore early. Hessie and I are lucky enough to be on it. So, unexpectedly, we're going to get to spend some time in this tiny capital of the Falkland Islands. Argentina calls the Falkland Islands Islas Malvinas. They claim it. In 1982, Argentina invaded. After a few months of very heavy fighting and losses on both sides, Britain won that war. That's a British warship that we're just passing now. We're told the situation is still tense. We're going to try to forget that for today anyway. Two real live Falkland Islanders. And my wife. Though quite close to Argentina, almost the entire population of the Falkland Island territories, under 3,000 people, is of British extraction. With only a little more than 2,000 people, Stanley, formerly Port Stanley, capital of the Falkland Island territories, is by far the largest population center. Though late spring in this part of the world, it's quite cool, windy, and starting to rain a little bit. Ross Street is the one closest to the harbor. That's the main street. All of the cross streets rise up sharply. We've left Ross Street and hiked up Philomel to near the top of the town. Hessie, ever the good sport, has been coerced into taking us on a quick walking tour while I follow with my camera. Small population, rugged terrain, and raw weather all underscore that Stanley remains a remote outpost. The continuing poor relations with Argentina and many of its Latin American allies only serves to underscore the isolation of the Falklands. In the distance can be seen West Falkland Island, which is very sparsely populated. It, along with East Falkland Island, where Stanley's located, are the main islands. There are also 700 other islands comprising the Falklands. Argentina is about 300 miles further west. At this point, we're heading back down toward Ross Street, and we will very shortly find ourselves only a few blocks from the Welcome Center where we started. If you're a tourist to Stanley and want to stay over, you might want to try a small hotel on Ross Street like this one, or maybe a bed and breakfast. There are no modern resort hotels or conference centers in Stanley. This large building is a tchotchke shop, but fortunately we didn't find anything interesting to buy. Less than 2 hours later, we're heading back to the ship on a tender. Before we left this morning, we were already signed up for another penguin tour this afternoon. Less than 2 hours later, a few of the approximately 1,000 passengers are ready to head out again. As with all excursions, the assembly point is the theater of the ship. We'll be going to another penguin preserve. It's called Sparrow Cove. Like Stanley, it's located on East Falkland Island, and it's not far away. We've arrived at Sparrow Cove, and now we're awaiting one of the Land Rovers that's going to take us around to the penguin preserve.
It's like being on safari.
We're traveling across some peat bogs, some very rough terrain. performance and stability of these ancient Land Rovers is truly amazing. This would make a wonderful commercial. And here we are at Sparrow Cove. At this nesting ground, there are primarily Gen 2 penguins. They're bigger than the Magellan penguins. This nesting area is cordoned off and guarded by volunteer Falkland Islanders. This Sparrow Cove Preserve and the nesting area is actually private property. It's part of a very large sheep farm owned by a local family. Tourists and others are invited to come, take pictures, and visit the small information and souvenir shop.
I say, well, let's go for it.
Joining the Gen 2 penguins in the nesting area are a few king penguins. They're bigger and have a prominent yellow-orange patch on the sides of their heads, and another on the top of the chest.
I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's just up here for a look, or yesterday there was two of them, you see.
This penguin is scrounging around looking for material for the nest. This little girl is the daughter of the people who run the sheep farm. We're now standing not far from the information and souvenir shop. This is one of the student volunteers who's waiting on Hessie. Young people interested in higher education have to leave the islands, usually back to England. This is a pair of upland geese, the male being the white one. They were once hunted almost to extinction on the Falkland Islands, but now they're protected and considered a very good option to mutton. This has been a wonderful side trip. Now we're back. The launch is here, and here comes the other Land Rover. So we'll be returning to the ship very shortly. Once we're on the Norwegian Crown again, we'll be heading southwest, looking for Cape Horn.